and you said his wife her life was in danger.
Right.
You're a married man, Stokes. Are you telling me that if your wife was in danger, you wouldn't go through the end of the galaxy to see her healthy? Come on, she gonna find out about this if you tell me otherwise.
I mean, this dude to the depths that he had to go to make this happen. He had to kill children. He had to destroy planets and people. I mean, jeez. I don't know, man. Vader is.
You don't know.
Man. He's evil.
You telling me you don't know if you would kill, plunder, and destroy for the sake of Mrs. Stokes? You wouldn't do that? You know what? I'm married. Let it be known I would do that for my wife. Okay?
Let me know.
I am the greatest, the greatest, the greatest, the greatest.
What up, though, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of the GOAT Debate Podcast. So glad you're joining us here for another episode. Meech and Darius here, as always, to debate the latest and the greatest in whatever the topic of discussion is here on the GOAT Debate, where we feel like we settle the debate once and for all of who is truly the greatest of all time, or, of course, at least we like to think we do. Darius, man, how's it going tonight?
Oh, it's going good, man. I'm ready to go. I'm excited about this topic. One, because my list is a little bit different than the lists of the top five, and that's okay. That's why we do this list, to find out truly who is indeed the greatest of all time. And in this case, it's the greatest villain.
That's right. Tonight's episode of the GOAT Debate will be tackling the topic of the greatest movie villain of all time. We got feedback from the tribe, our group of listeners. We got feedback, of course, from me, from Darius. Darius is always wrong. So we're going to get into why he's always wrong tonight. And the people, Darius, tonight, we're kind of in line with my rankings. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit and get into it, man. But of course, we want to thank you guys so much for your support. Over the course of our first few episodes, we've been getting some great feedback. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, just search the GOAT Debate Podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media. We're at GOAT_debate on Twitter and Instagram. Search the GOAT Debate Podcast on Facebook. You can find us there as well. We're actually live on Facebook right now. So if you are on Facebook and listening here on Thursday night, you are able to catch us live on Facebook. If not, you're probably listening to us on whatever podcasting platform you listen to, and we appreciate that love and support. So without further ado, Darius, man, let's go ahead. Unless you have anything you want to add, let's get into tonight's topic, the greatest movie villain of all time. Just to refresh the memories of those who might not remember, or if this is your first time listening to the podcast, essentially what we do is we give you guys a top five. We count down from 5 to 1. We also have a couple of honorable mentions before we get into things, but we take a composite of our listeners' vote, Darius's vote, and the vote of yours truly, and we come up with a top 5 composite ranking. And we did just that tonight. So we're going to go ahead and get into this discussion of the greatest movie villains of all time by starting off with the first two out. These are our 2 honorable mentions. They didn't quite make the top 5. They were oh so close, but didn't quite make it. And we're going to start first with, this one was a little outside of the box for me. I'm gonna be honest. This is one of Darius's personal favorites because I think, if I'm not mistaken, on his personal list, he has this group of people as number 2 on his personal list of greatest movie villains of all time. Darius, I'm going to let you take it away because I don't even know how to pronounce the name right. So I'm going to let you take it from here because these are your people.
These are my people, but I too probably cannot pronounce the name correctly. Names, if you ever watched our old podcast, Hit the Ropes podcast, names are my Achilles. So you will hear me butcher many a names, and tonight will be no different. But I'm going to call them the Armitage family. That is probably not what Jordan calls them.
I think that's right.
Yes, let's go with Armitage because this family, if you remember, is from Get Out. Listen, you said this was off the wall or caught you off guard, however you phrased it, but Stokes, we're going to go through a lot of evil tonight. We're going to go over a lot of evil names tonight. But out of all the villains that we're talking about, how many of them, when you Google the name of the villain, right after it, one of the suggested things that pop up, because it's asked so frequently on Google, is, are they real? Are they real? People want to know, are they real? And is this evil lurking about? Stokes, can you say that about anybody else on the top 5?
No, but maybe one. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Go ahead. Okay. You're on the roll right now. I'll let you have it. Go ahead.
For those who haven't seen Get Out, this whole story wraps around this grandfather who at one time was a athlete and was competing for the Olympics, but ended up losing in a qualifying round to Jesse Owens, who, as we should hope we all know, went on to win the Olympics.
We hope they know that.
We hope you know this, but if you don't know your history, that's okay. That's why you're here. We're gonna help you through it. So he gets defeated, and he can't see how. Now this black man, because he is a white man, how this black man was able to not only just destroy him in this race, but he knew that if they raced 100 times, he would lose 100 times. And despite how intelligent he is, the physical prowess was too much. So to speed the story up, he goes and they develop this way to go ahead and steal the power of the black man and put it into these white men. There's a bidding contest. There you can go, and there's a whole order. Stokes, there's a whole order where they go and they bid like they're bidding on high priced art or cars, and they take these body parts and they use it to put the white people into the black bodies, and it's just a whole creepy thing because now the whole family's involved, and the son and then the grandson and the granddaughter involved, and they're all just walking around capturing black people. It is the scariest thing ever.
It's a tripped out movie, no doubt. When I first saw Get Out, I was a little freaked out by it. I'm not gonna lie.
That's all I can say.
Yeah. Nope. So this family, they pretty much they put the essence of they basically do lobotomies, right? That's pretty much what it is, right? They do these lobotomies, and so the grandfather and the grandmother are living essentially through these black families, or these black people, I should say. And the next victim, if you will, is a boy. They kind of do this whole, they lure in black guys or black people through the kids, or in this case the grandkids, the daughter and the son. They start dating or whatever, and next thing you know, you're getting ready to have a white person's brain inserted into your head. So it is quite the tripped out movie. And this family's quite diabolical, man. I can't lie. And the way that they act and play it off, like old girl who was acting like she was in love with old boy. I mean, you believed it until she flipped the switch and she was psychotic. So yeah, the Armitage family is definitely one of the, when you're talking about, and when we kind of came up with this list, it's not just about killing or slashing. I mean, you gotta think about evil plots and the mind of the villain and all of those different things that kind of went into how we ranked these people. And the Armitage family is definitely a trip and definitely the essence of pure evil, if you will, especially considering the way in which they acted out their evil. So Armitage family didn't quite make our list. They're on that first two out. Shout out to my homeboy DK Patton in the chat room. He says a villain that we should have considered. And I'm ashamed, man, because I've never seen this movie. So shame on me. But he says the villain from No Country for Old Men. I can't speak on this villain because I've never seen No Country for Old Men. I should be ashamed. I feel like I should have seen that movie. Have you seen that one, Darius?
I saw it when it first came out. And I know it got some votes. So folks were agreeing. It just didn't get enough votes to necessarily get it through. But yeah, that's another killer.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, man, but that's one that we like Darius said, it got some votes, but didn't quite make the list. But we got a pretty solid list here, man. I think people, when they hear these names, well, maybe not you, Darius, but when they hear these names, they'll be happy with okay, so the villain from No Country from Old Men, I had to look him up. Anton, is it Chigura?
Stokes names.
I know, man. I'm butchering it. But his first name is Anton. I know that. I can pronounce that. But yeah, he's the villain. He's the main antagonist in No Country for Old Men. So he definitely was was a great villain. Just didn't quite make the list. But as we move on here to the second person on our list of first two out. So this is our honorable mention list. This is the only, believe it or not, this is the only quote unquote slasher, if you will, to make the list. All of our other villains weren't necessarily like, serial killers in the sense of like, or they didn't come from horror films, I guess is probably the better way to say it. But this guy is one of the scariest dudes. And for my money, the first version of this movie is one of, if not the scariest movie of all time for me. And I'm talking about no other than Michael Myers, the villain from the Halloween movies, of course. Michael Myers is now his level of evil is more on the psychotic psycho side of things. So most of you guys have probably seen, there's 100 Halloween movies, so most of you guys have probably seen some version of the Halloween movies. Michael Myers, from The Mask, which is it's scary, to his slow, methodical walk where he seems to always be able to catch you, even when you're running and he's walking at 2 miles per hour, he always catches you. And the fact that he was actually his mission was to try to eradicate his family. Like he was trying to kill like his sister and his niece, and he was trying to off his family, and he started technically killing as a child. like the first murder he committed, he was a kid, which got him put, in the psych ward, which kind of, starts the whole movie. He escapes the psych ward, and then in essence, it's a whole search to try to find him while he's trying to find his sister and kill her. And so Michael Myers is definitely one of the most horrific, villains of all time.
Yeah. And did it stem from, now, mind you, I didn't watch a lot of horror flicks growing up. And
okay. By choice, or you weren't allowed, or you were scared? Come on, let us.
It was more so wasn't allowed.
Okay.
Growing up in a slightly strict household, couldn't watch the rated R flicks growing up for a good minute. So that was one thing. So I had to go back and watch a lot of the these, the slasher flicks and things of that nature. And by time, I'm grown, so it's not as scary. So, but what confuses me is, catch me if I'm wrong here. Okay. Did this all start because he couldn't go trick-or-treating?
No.
He wasn't allowed to go trick-or-treating? Okay.
It has nothing to do with him not being able to go trick-or-treating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know he was sadistic and he killed. His kill count is ridiculous. He's 121 people over the 5,843 Halloween films, something like that. So his kill count is horrendous there. But I was wondering, because I can't remember the genesis. I know you said he killed when he was young, and I know he targeted his sister. Is a big factor in it, but.
Yeah, basically the genesis of it all is just, when he was a kid, he murders his sister, and it just so happened it happened on Halloween. Okay. And so then, 15 years later, he's now, an adult or a young adult. He's been in a psych ward. He escapes. It just happens to be Halloween again. And now he's on this, this killing spree. He comes back home to his old house, and his other sister or niece or whatever Jamie Lee Curtis's character is kind of the protagonist, and he's trying to kill her throughout the movie. And of course he plows through many of the residents of Haddonfield where they lived in the movie. He plows through a gang of those people throughout. So yeah, man, the first Halloween is great. The second one is really, really good. The third one, I don't know what they tried to do with that. They totally went away from Michael Myers in the third one. And then after that, it just kind of got, it goes to 4, 5, and 6, and Halloween Resurrection and Halloween 2000. Now, I haven't seen the most recent version. They didn't remake it. They did a new version of Halloween. I want to say it was either last year or in 2018. That's supposed to be, it's a reboot, but it is a direct sequel from part 1. So, but now it's like 40 years later or 30 years later from the events of, the very first movie. And so I've heard that one is really good. I've heard the Rob Zombie remake. So Rob Zombie did 2 remakes, part 1 and part 2. I heard those were really good. I haven't seen those, but I've seen, the earlier ones, obviously. And Michael Myers he's one of the GOATs in the slasher film. So Michael Myers didn't quite make the list. Michael Myers, Armitage Family, and our first 2 out on our list of the greatest movie villains of all time. I want to thank you guys so much again for listening as we jump into the top 5. Here we go. The top 5 movie villains of all time. Darius, this first one, again, this one is a little outside the box for me. I like it, but it's a little bit outside the box for me. I'm gonna let you take it away and talk a little bit about number 5 on our list of greatest movie villains of all time.
Yo, the number 5 on the list, he makes it because he checks all the boxes. All the boxes. We're talking about death. We're talking about a social impact. We're talking about fear, and we're talking about destruction. Those are the criteria I look at when I pick the most evil, vile person, or in this case, we're talking about the one and only Scar from The Lion King. He is the number 5 villain, and let me tell you why.
Please, because I'm personally shocked by this, but go ahead.
Okay, let me ask you this question, Stokes. You can't really believe someone on Halloween going around in mask and chopping people up, and he's dead. He walks 1 mile an hour, but yet he's able to catch up. But what you can believe and what you can fear is, what if your brother, your very own blood, went out of their way to not only take you out, kill you, but take everything you had? That's exactly what Scar did. He killed his very own brother. Not only did he kill his brother, he pinned the murder on his own nephew. Not only did he pin the murder on his own nephew, he ran his nephew out of town. Not only did he run it out of town, what he did is he took his seat on the throne. And after he took the seat on the throne, what did he do? He destroyed all of the lands that surround him. They ran out of food. There was a massive drought. He didn't care about his people, his subjects. He didn't care if they ate. They wanted to leave Pride Rock and find some food because, after all this destruction, but he wouldn't do it. He could not bring himself to leave. He just destroyed everything around him for power, Stokes. That's why Scar deserves to be in this top 5 villain. That is the most villainous thing I could think of. You killing your family, you blaming your own blood for the murder, and then you're going to destroy everything around you just because you want to be in power? Oh man, Stokes.
Listen,
that's scary.
Okay, Scar is admittedly diabolical. He's evil. And you asked me, could I believe that a man in a mask on Halloween could, go around? Sure. I mean, what else could you, what better time to get away with, mass murder than on Halloween when everybody's wearing masks? I mean, it's somewhat believable. And Scar's story, sure. Scar is a lion and we're human beings, but I get the point that you're making. The storyline, of course, could definitely happen in real life, right? Family turmoil, family jealousy. You want what another family member has, and you want to take that by any means, including killing your own brother, banishing your own nephew, destroying your land, and doing damage to your, in this case, fellow, I guess, lions in the process. But yes, that part of it is definitely believable, and Scar is definitely evil. I just was shocked and surprised that we actually got an animated villain in our top 5. But hey, man, you made a great case for why Scar deserves to be on this list, and so I can't hate. I can't hate.
Well, there is hate in the comments. Shane is throwing some hate. He says number 5, recount. So he is not happy about it. But listen, he's Scar's, just one more point, that he was been nominated by multiple folks. What up, Don? Don is in the chat room too, showing some love to Don. But he is Scar has been rated the number one animated Disney villain, so he puts him on top of that pedestal. But he's also, if you Google the best villains, Scar is up there. This is not a left field as you think. If you look at all the other top lists, Scar is up there. So some other people are showing him some love despite his evil black heart.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, some of our friends in the chat room feel otherwise. But Scar is definitely, he was an evil dude, man, or an evil lion. So Scar comes in at number 5 on our list of greatest villains of all time. So now, Darius, we move on to number 4. And quite frankly, this guy, I'm actually shocked that he is this low. I thought he would be higher because when we take our composite ranking, and you know who ruined him being higher on the list? I'm just going to throw it out there. It was you. You ruined it. You're the reason why this man isn't higher on the list. Thank God our tribe, our listeners, actually saw value in this character. And of course, I did as well, because he's in my top 5 movie villains ever. He actually was number 1 on our listeners when we polled our listeners and polled social media. This guy came in at number 1, but he is number 4 on our composite list. And I am talking about none other than the Dark Lord of the Sith himself, Darth Vader. Of course, from the Star Wars movies, most notably episodes 4, 5, and 6. As Darth Vader, episodes 1, 2, and 3, we get his origin story as Anakin Skywalker. And what a story it is, Darius Brown. Listen, I am a huge Star Wars fan. You probably can tell by the passion in my voice as I'm getting ready to talk about Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader. So you want to talk about Scar and just how diabolical he was and the things that he did. Let's talk a little bit about Anakin. His motives, Darth Vader, his motives were a little bit different. So, of course, Darth Vader was once Anakin Skywalker, and when he turns to the dark side, he becomes Darth Vader. So prior to him turning to the dark side, he's Anakin Skywalker. He is a Jedi, a master Jedi. He's his teacher is Obi-Wan Kenobi. They go on all these different adventures together. You see that kind of in the first couple of episodes, the prequels. He falls in love with Padme, who is the love of his life. Finds out she's pregnant, but he has these dreams and he has these visions of her dying in childbirth. Okay, so he's having he's meeting with the Chancellor, and the Chancellor is feeding him what we find out later to be lies, that he has the ability to save people from death. And the only way that he can learn this power, that Anakin can learn this power, is if he turns to the dark side of the Force. And he ultimately does that. He does it out of the love of his woman, Darius. He turns evil because he wants to save his wife. It turns out to be a lie. She dies in childbirth as he envisions in his dreams. She does successfully have twins, which we later find out are Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia. But he initially does it out of love. But the process in which he turns to the dark side, Darius, he kills younglings, man. Darth Vader kills younglings. He kills innocent little children who are Jedis in training. And then he becomes one of the most evil, diabolical, scariest figures in all of the galaxy. But where he differs from probably all of the other villains is Darth Vader, we find later on, has a soft spot. And that soft spot is the love of his children that ultimately lead him back to the light. However, before that happens, you're talking about bodies, the number of people that he kills, for the Emperor it's a lot. It's a lot. Darth Vader is one of the most notorious, if not the most notorious villain in all of cinema. Tell me I'm lying.
You lying.
Come
He's
on.
a liar.
Oh, come on.
I know that the tribe voted him number one.
Number one.
I got Shane in the chat room saying he better be up there. But you list a bunch of redeeming qualities to me. Okay. All right, let's take this to who should we go to? We should go to let's just go to Batman. Okay, for a second. Let me change universes real quick and go to Batman, where Alfred once said, "You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain." And that's all that happened here. He was a hero, a young prodigy. And you said her life was in danger.
Right.
You're a married man, Stokes. Are you telling me that if your wife was in danger, you wouldn't go through the end of the galaxy to see her healthy? Come on, she's gonna find out about this if you tell me otherwise.
I mean, this dude to the depths that he had to go to make this happen. He had to kill children. He had to destroy planets and people. I mean, jeez. I don't know, man. Vader is.
You don't know.
Man. He's evil.
You telling me you don't know if you would kill, plunder, and destroy for the sake of Mrs. Stokes? You wouldn't do that? You know what? I'm married. Let it be known I would do that for my wife. Okay. Let me know. His listen. They wanted to destroy his son, his first and only son.
Right.
And what did he do? No. He put a stop to that too. This is a family man. This is a family story, Stokes. This is not an evil man. This is a man. This is not. Listen. If you sometimes things aren't black and white, Stokes. All right. Darth Vader was doing what he had to do to make sure his family not only survived, but they prospered.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he did some bad things, right? He did some bad things, and he's probably not proud of it. Okay, a lot of bad things. He's probably not proud of it. Shane say I'm reaching. I don't think I'm reaching. I think he's.
You are reaching.
He's a bad guy that had, he was put in situations where he had to do bad things. I don't think he's a bad guy. He's
the fact that he did evil in the name, quote unquote, of love doesn't negate the fact that it's evil. Just it was evil. Just because he thought he was saving his wife, or he could potentially save his wife. He still killed younglings. He still killed leaders of other systems and planets and things of that nature.
That's war. That's war.
Come on, man.
I mean, Americans go to war, how many times every decade we in a war, and you know what? These soldiers aren't evil. They're not evil people. They had to kill a lot of people. Salute to the military.
That's a little different, but and like Shane said, I think you're reaching a little bit. Vader is definitely deserving of being in this top 5. I mean, when people say movie villains, name me 3 movie villains. Darth Vader assuredly would be one of the first 3 names that most people would say when they think movie villain. So for that reason alone, he should be on this list.
All right, fair
enough. All right. Fair enough. Okay. All right. All right. So you got me a good little debate there, but I mean, come on, man. He should be on the list for sure. Moving on to number 3, and this might be, Darius, my favorite movie villain of the what is this? Is this the 21st century? The 21st century, whatever. But probably my favorite villain in recent memory. This guy. What is so crazy about this particular guy is that his impact spread throughout multiple movies, but he only really was played a prominent role in like 2 movies. We heard about him. He made a couple of brief cameos in some movies, but his aura was always surrounding this entire universe of movies. And I think people may be knowing where I'm going by saying universe. But coming in at number 3 is Thanos. Thanos, of course, from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Obviously, he was in the last 2 Avengers movies. Darius, give me your thoughts on, the Mad Titan, Thanos.
Yeah, we've talked a lot tonight about bodies, and apparently nobody has more bodies on his hit list than Thanos. They say he killed a whole planet full. They say he's in like the 5 billion or 5 trillion body count, just murdering folks. Why? Because there are too many people in the universe. Is that not? Am I hearing this correctly? I mean, I know you watched from the beginning of the Marvel collection to the end. Is he killing people because there's just too many people?
His whole mission and goal was to eradicate 50% of the universe, because he just felt like there were too many people, sucking up all of the world, the universe's resources. And so he felt by eliminating half of them, it would make the universe a better place. That's it, bro. That's it.
Ain't nobody kill his mama. Ain't nobody stole his baby. He just said there's just too many of y'all. Some of y'all got to go.
Yeah. That's pretty much the gist of Thanos. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, consider this, we see this in the, I want to say it was Infinity War, where it definitely was Infinity War, where we see him kill, by all accounts, the perception was he didn't really love anything. He didn't care about anyone. He didn't care about anything. But in order for him to obtain the Soul Stone, he had to sacrifice something that he loved. And the only thing that he loved was Gamora, who was Zoe Saldana. For those that don't know, from she's in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Her character is Gamora. And she was a daughter of Thanos, and that was presumably the only thing that he loved, because he actually saved her as a child from an entire planet that he destroyed. She was the only thing that he saved from that planet. So he destroyed all of her people, killed her, and destroyed her entire planet, but he spared her life, and she became a daughter, quote unquote, of Thanos. But he really cared for her and loved her, so much so that he threw off her cliff, killed her, so that he could get the Soul Stone. So This dude was, I mean, when you talk about on a mission, yes. nothing would listen. When people say nothing's gonna come between me and my goals, and most times they're lying. Something could potentially come between you and your goals. A loved one, something, some type of bad event happening. Sometimes things stall our dreams. Thanos wasn't letting nothing or nobody stall his dream and his goal of eradicating the universe of 50% of his population. And he did that by killing his own daughter.
Ridiculous. It's straight up ridiculous. Just going through the fact that you're killing people because there's too many people, that right there made me want to redo my whole list. I had it absolutely wrong. This guy should have been number one. Why he's at 3, I don't know now. And then you're getting rid of your adopted daughter, and then just all the bodies and the destruction. Thanos was a bad dude. So, it took the best of the Marvel universe to stop, to even try to slow him down. Right. So, man, shout outs to the scariest of them all.
It took every single Avenger that existed, and even ones you didn't know existed, to defeat Thanos, for sure. He was, yeah, man. I mean, you're right. I mean, you can make a case for him being number one, man. You really, really could. But I'm looking at a picture right now of a man.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Segue. As we get into continue going through this list of the top movie villains of all time. This guy is my personal favorite. Thanos was number 2 on my personal list. And this guy has a similar makeup, a very similar makeup to Thanos. And he comes in at number 2. You probably saw his face if you were just peeking there just a minute ago. So you might as well throw it back up. Back to the Star Wars movies. And if you think Darth Vader is evil, if you think that Darth Vader is bad, he was actually what people... people know this if you watch the Star Wars movies. Darth Vader was actually the puppet. He was the heavy. He was the hitman, if you will. The puppeteer, the mastermind behind it all was Emperor Palpatine. And that's why he comes in at number 2 on our list of greatest movie villains of all time. Listen, man. Palpatine. Oh my God. I'm at a loss for words. So Thanos destroyed planets. So did Emperor Palpatine was doing that before Thanos was even thought of. The Death Star. The Death Star's sole purpose, the Death Star's main power was that with one blast from the Death Star, it could destroy an entire planet. Literally, they could just fire this large cannon and hit a planet and blow it up in seconds. Blow it to smithereens. Emperor Palpatine, very similar to Thanos, thought that his mission was to bring peace to the galaxy, and he was going to bring that peace to the galaxy by any means necessary. He was a master, something that he probably has better than anybody on our list is that Emperor Palpatine was a master manipulator. So not only was he evil, he could play the mind games with certain people, i.e. Anakin Skywalker, to get you to turn to the dark side and become one of his minions. I mean, from Darth Maul, to Count Dooku, to General Grievous, to ultimately Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader. All of these guys, Count Dooku was a former Jedi who Palpatine turns to the dark side. Anakin Skywalker, former Jedi, turns them to the dark side because he entices them with, some type of power or, ability that he says they can't get from being a Jedi. And so his manipulative ways, he had mind control literally over Darth Vader. Darth Vader was so loyal, so faithful to him until it came down to saving the life of, the Emperor or his son, Luke Skywalker. He ultimately turns back to the light side by saving his son and killing the Emperor, or so we thought. Dun, dun, dun. The Emperor, is he really dead? I don't want to, if you haven't seen The Rise of Skywalker, the last Star Wars movie, wow, it's in the trailer. You hear his voice, you hear his laugh in the trailer. So you get the hint there that we think all these years Darth Vader killed the Emperor and he's not dead. We find out he's alive. So this guy not only was a master manipulator, evil, destroyed planets, wanted to eradicate, systems and other planets in the galaxy. Then we find out this guy could live to be like 3,000 years old because he survives all these years later. And we find him in the most recent Star Wars movie. So Emperor Palpatine, man, is as evil as they come.
Stokes, you say evil.
Mm-hmm.
I say just another politician. Just another politician.
That's a great. He was a politician. He was the chancellor. But that was all a front. That was all a front. He was really, a Sith Lord, but it was all political. That's actually a valid point.
But I don't know if people got this comparison. I'm not the biggest Star Wars mark, but it's scary for a different reason for me, Stokes. Because when I see him, he's got all the makings of another leader. I'm talking about like them Ku Klux Klan leaders. Let's run it down. Let's run it down. Let's run it down. I don't know if people have made this comparison in the past, but that's what I saw. Okay. By day, he's an evil politician, just going around and doing his thing, manipulating his way into leadership. By night, he's going around murdering people, wearing hoods, lying about who he is. Nobody knows who he is. This guy, to me, that he's the KKK of the galaxy is what he is. He's eliminated. He hates the Jedi. For what reason? The Jedi are just nice, people just handling their business. Sounds a little familiar to me. Not to him. Not to him. Not to the Ku Klux Klan either, I guess. Do you see what I'm saying here, Stokes? This guy is pure evil for no reason. Just trying to exterminate. He's trying to convince, not only is he doing it, he's trying to convince everybody else that the Jedi are bad, right? And he's doing that. He's starting Clone Wars. Not unlike the South is. Dude, we have seen this story before. It is not good. That is what makes him.
It's the Civil War space. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's what it is, and that's why it's so scary. This is why this guy is a scary dude, and that's why some people need to be put out of office. But I won't go there.
Well, listen, man. Yeah, Palpatine. It's funny though. There are some, some parallels to real life with his character, right? The political jockeying that he does in the first, episodes 1 through 3 to kind of get to the position that he ultimately gets to, and then he reveals himself to be, the Sith Lord, and then by that point he's gotten Anakin to turn, and Anakin's killing everybody, and he just kind of takes over and becomes just the Emperor. And yeah, man, it's wild stuff. Hopefully none of that stuff plays out here. 2020 has been bad enough. We don't need those type of problems to escalate here. in the real world today. But Emperor Palpatine is definitely evil, man, deserving to be on the list. And I kind of felt, I know Darth Vader kind of gets the shine, if you will, when people talk about villains and things like that. And I think what a lot of people miss in all of it is that Vader wasn't the mastermind behind it all. Like all of the plans and all of the things that he was doing, he was just carrying out someone else's orders. And who was behind it all? And so we find out more about the Emperor in the prequels, and then we find out, you know, in the sequel trilogy that comes after that, you know, he's behind all of that. And so this guy, his plans to rule the world and rule the galaxy never stopped. They just went on for years and years and years and years, and he just never let it go. So him and Thanos are very similar in that regard. So yeah, so they are Palpatine comes in at number 2. And of course, before we get into the GOAT, who we have at number 1, which for me is debatable, but you know, it is what it is. We want to thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the GOAT Debate Podcast. We like to talk about, Darius, we like to talk about snubs. We like to talk about some people who didn't make the top 5 list, who didn't quite get the honorable mention, and just some people, villains that maybe we personally like that didn't make either list. I'll start with you. I'll let you throw out, you know, a name or two of a villain or villains that you may have who didn't quite make our list tonight.
Yeah, man, a lot of evil out there, unfortunately. But one that didn't make the list for me was Mr. Glass from originally Unbreakable. Mr. Elijah Price, I believe. 130 people killed in a train crash, planes crash, burning buildings, cruise ships going down, all by the hands of this genius, Mr. Glass, just because he's feeling bad, just because his body is failing him. He's looking for someone that has the opposite of him, where he's frail, he's looking for strength. And to find that, he has to cause havoc and destroy people's lives, kill others, to see if he can get that one person to emerge from the wreckage, what eventually happens in Bruce Willis's character. And he tries to use him to make himself better. But the egotistical, the all the death and destruction, that makes Mr. Glass, for me, one of the biggest villains in movie history.
Okay, all right. I don't know, man. I wasn't a big fan of those Unbreakable movies, and I guess they just did one where he was combined with the dude that was that's has multiple personalities, the Split dude, and you know,
that was a good movie too.
Yeah, all right. Well, maybe I'll check them out in my spare time.
I didn't like Unbreakable the first time I saw it. I really did not like it. But when I went back and watched it, I was like, oh, okay, all right, I missed some things. Yeah. And so it was really good, and I enjoyed Samuel L. Jackson in that one as well. So,
I mean, they always put Samuel L. Jackson in some bad wigs, man, and no matter in what movies he's playing. And, you know, Mr. Glass, he kind of has the, you know, I don't even know, like the Al Sharpton, like little, you know, Dime King.
Gumby-ish. I don't know.
Yeah. Gumby? Did you say Gumby-ish? Yeah, so he gotta have like the Don King Gumby look going. So what's interesting, every villain on my list, Darius, I just wanna brag real quick, either made the top 5 or they were an honorable mention. So I don't really have a snub tonight, which means that I was really in line and in tune with the tribe, with those that we polled, our listeners. We were kind of on the same page. You were on a different page. But I'm going to talk about a couple of snubs who didn't quite make the list based on our polls, based on the tribe who they voted for. And I'm going to take it back to a slasher. And he might be one of, if not the most popular slasher. You know, there's a big three for slashers for me, if you will. There's Jason Voorhees, there's Michael Myers, and then there's this guy who's a snub, and that's Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger came in at number 4 on the Tribe's list. So when we polled our listeners and polled people on social media, Freddy Krueger got the 4th most votes, but he didn't have enough votes to make the composite ranking. But Freddy Krueger, man, I mean, come on. A guy that can kill you in your dreams? You can't even go to sleep at night? Come on, man. That is beyond scary. This guy literally kills you in your dreams, and then what makes it even more scary, if you die in your dream, you die in the real world. So it's not even really, is it really a dream? Like, what's going on? So, you know, Freddy Krueger is definitely up there when you talk about best movie villains. Then you add to the fact that he was like a child molester, so he's just a really, really bad person. And then, you know, you don't know the origins of the Freddy Krueger character?
Going back to the earlier conversations, I couldn't see those movies, right. And I've never I've never gone back and watched it because it doesn't feel like it holds up.
Yeah, so basically his character, like, you know, you see him as this burnt figure, but how does he get to that? Like he's like this neighborhood like pedophile. Right? He's like seriously. And so like the parents of this community, like literally like trap him in his house, and I could be getting this part of it wrong, but they set his house on fire and burn him up, and they think that he dies. And so in essence, I think the story goes that he like, you know, like makes a deal with the devil to bring him back and let him haunt people in their dreams or whatever. And so that's how you get this, you know, this burned Freddy Krueger, you know, character, which, I mean, that's pretty evil, man. And then, you know, and if you notice most of his victims, you know, he's kind of victimizing like teenagers. Like if you watch his movies, like, you know, it's the main characters in the movie who are trying to kill him and are avoiding him or running away from him or trying not to die in their dreams. They're all like teenagers. So it kind of goes all with that. Although he does, of course, kill his fair share of adults too in the movies. But yeah, Freddy Krueger was a snub. Another snub real quick. I feel like we have to talk about this guy. Maybe you can touch on him a little bit more. I think he was maybe one. He didn't make your list, but probably one that you might be able to shed some light on a little bit. Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter was a snub. Of course, Hannibal Lecter is from Silence of the Lambs. Look, I was having a brain fart there. And so, I mean, what about his character makes him, I mean, I know he was like a cannibal, like he ate people and did some crazy things like that. But what are some other things that kind of just made him, you know, a awful villain?
Yeah, I guess Hannibal the Cannibal
right.
wasn't quite doesn't sound too scary. It sounds a little silly. But he was a cannibal. He was a serial killer, meaning obviously if he's going to eat, he's not going to just eat just one person and stop. He's going to keep killing. But the thing about him,
I mean, he's hungry, right? He's got to eat. The man's got to eat, so he's got to. You know, he's got to kill more people.
And listen, the crazy part about it is he was a smart dude, and that's what made him scary. And that's what made him a good villain, is because he was outsmarting the, you know, FBI for forever, and challenged them, and nobody could really pierce his wall. And I think that's another thing, you know, is not just, sure, murdering people and eating them is really horrible, But what makes him scary is his intellect. That, you know, just his demeanor is scary and fierce. So just everything about this dude is creepy. It's all out creepy. So he's definitely up there as the, you know, greatest villains in movie history for sure.
So speaking of that, here's an interesting tidbit about Hannibal Lecter. In 2003, the American Film Institute made a list of its 50 greatest heroes and 50 greatest villains in the history of cinema. Want to guess where Hannibal Lecter was ranked?
Honorable mention, since that's where we put him.
We didn't put him in honorable mention. He didn't even make our list. He's a snub. He was number one. He was voted the greatest villain in the history of cinema. Now, this was back in 2003. Many other movies have been made since then with villains. The top five, I'm just going to give you that. Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs, Norman Bates from Psycho, Darth Vader was number 3, The Wicked Witch of the West, which actually got some votes on our
she was in my list as I was going through them, and then she just kept getting bumped off.
Yeah. And Norman Bates got a couple of votes also. But The Wicked Witch of the West was number 4 from The Wizard of Oz, and Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is a 1975 movie, came in at number 5. Someone said, I just want to throw out some notables here because some of these people that I would have never thought to think of got some votes. HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Somebody mentioned that person in one of our polls. That was one that I saw. I was like, oh, okay. Alfonso Harris, Detective Alfonso Harris, played by Denzel Washington in Training Day, actually came in at number 50. He was number 50 on the list of greatest movie villains of all time. So that was an interesting list, and it's funny because nobody in our top 5, other than Darth Vader. Darth Vader is the only person in our top 5 that actually made that top 5 list. So that's an interesting list. And I take that back. The number 1 on our list actually is going to came in on the American Film Institute's list at number 45. But we have this person at number 1 on our greatest movie villains of all time. Whether it was the cartoon version, whether it was Jack Nicholson's version of it, whether it was Heath Ledger's version of it, coming in at number 1 on our list of greatest movie villains of all time is the Joker. And we say specifically from The Dark Knight, but I think Jack Nicholson did a great job as the Joker in the Michael Keaton Batman movies. But Heath Ledger took it to a whole nother level, Darius.
Oh man, did he ever? He when we talk about villains, right? And we talk about no redeeming qualities, the Joker is there. You know, he's got a decent enough origin story. It's just the fact that his father was abusive, beat his mother. He's the one that gave him the slice and the to give him a smile. He killed 34 people. Talking about the Dark Knight alone. But it's worse than that. You know, if killing wasn't enough, and if you want to get worse, it's making others attempt to kill for you. Where he has 2 fairies, one with just plain civilians, and one with convicts, and he gave them the choice to blow up the other fairy before you get blown up. I mean, that's just sadistic stuff. There's nothing about this guy that is likable. And you know, a lot of these.
It's actually funny.
What?
I mean, he has some good comedic moments in the movies. I mean, he's kind of funny.
Oh my God, funny. He's murdering people. Listen, we talk about all these other, you talk about Palpatine and all these other people a lot of them are doing it for power or for money. This guy burns money. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He just wants what? I mean, what's the motivation? I have no idea.
Exactly. So that's the part for me that makes him like just crazy, because we never really know what his motivation for doing anything is. Because hey, is his motivation money? Well, no, because in the movie he burns like a pile of money. So it's not that. I think one of the goals was he just wanted to see, his goal was chaos. He just wanted to see chaos and madness and disorder. I really think that was ultimately what his goals were. You know, he wanted to see the worst in everyone, including Batman. So, you know, and that was the whole thing with oh my God, what's the detective in The Dark Knight who ultimately becomes Two-Face? And Harvey Dent, right? He has, you know, Harvey Dent is like supposed to be like Gotham's guy, you know, and he's supposed to have all these great qualities, and the Joker brings out even the worst in him. So yeah, man, the Joker was dangerous, man, just because he didn't really have he just wanted chaos. He didn't care.
Yeah, and Alfred said it best. Some people just want to watch the world burn, is what he said, and that's exactly what he wanted. And to the scary thing is he just wanted to see, and you spoke about this a little bit, how far he could push Batman, because Batman was all good and almighty, and he wasn't going to back down. He went to jail, didn't care. He got in front of mobsmen and didn't care. He was actually a very smart person, the way he laid out his plan to rob the bank and then get rid of everybody that could have messed up his plans in the future or ratted him out before he turned himself in. I mean, he's a brilliant person, but uses it for the wrong things, and that's just scary. That's how you make the number one on our list. The motivation is unclear, and the destruction is very clear, and the Joker overall is just a scary, scary dude.
Yeah, for sure. So there you have it, guys. Our top 5 movie villains of all time: the Joker, Emperor Palpatine, Thanos, Darth Vader, and Scar. In that order, our top 5 list of greatest movie villains of all time. I think it's a solid list. It's not bad. Like I said, I mean, clearly me and the people were in sync with this ranking. You know, you with these off the wall people like Mr. Glass. Oh, somebody else on your list that you didn't talk about, Jigsaw, was on your list. Which that's a whole nother level of crazy there. So, but yeah, man, a good solid list. We want to thank those that we polled and participated in giving us your input and making up this composite list. But there it is, man. So we want to thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the GOAT Debate podcast. Be sure that you follow us on all of our social media if you don't already. GOAT_debate on Instagram and Twitter. Search the GOAT Debate on Facebook. And of course, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search the GOAT Debate podcast on YouTube. Darius, We want people to give us feedback on the podcast when they listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of those other platforms, right?
Absolutely. We need the downloads, we need the listens, and we need the comments and the 5 stars. So, you know, show us a little bit of love there. You know, find us on social. We are very interactive on social, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or on YouTube. You know, hit us up if you have any GOAT debate ideas that you want to see debated and put to a vote by our tribe, our listeners. Hit us up and we'll get a GOAT debate, and we're looking to get some additional guests on the show, and we're gonna have some fun here. So we definitely thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, for sure. If you have any show ideas, as Dara said, anything you want to debate it, you can DM us. You can also email us. Our email is goatdebate@gmail.com. So you can do that as well with any show ideas, any guest suggestions, all of that. We're open to it all. So we really appreciate you guys listening tonight. We'll catch you guys next time.